Welcome to your quick primer on Neuro-Somatic Intelligence Essentials. This is not going to cover everything about Neuro-Somatic Intelligence because it's actually a huge and amazing modality. It's basically applied neurology. What are we applying our neurology to? We're applying it to ourselves. This is all about learning how to unlock the manual, the user's manual for your own nervous system. Neurosomatic Intelligence, which was founded by Elizabeth Kristof. I learned it directly from Elizabeth and from her co-facilitator, Matt Bush. It is a method of working with our unique experience of the world. It is an efficient set of tools that you can use. They're simple, they're timely. You can use them even if you're in a meeting. You can use them when you don't have a lot of time. You can use them while you're taking the kids to the grocery store and trying to get through that without losing your mind. It's a simple and efficient set of tools that help you develop a more flexible and resilient nervous system. NSI is grounded in polyvagal theory and the principles of neuroplasticity, and it helps you become an expert on your nervous system because I can help you learn a whole bunch of tools. You're going to see some videos from myself and my partner, Ken. He's going to also walk us through some more tools after this video. The tools are about learning to regulate, which isn't just about being calm. It's learning how to be flexible, learning how to respond the way we want to respond in different situations. So that brings us to what the heck is applied neurology? Well, your nervous system is constantly taking in information. It's taking in sights and sounds and sensations and smells, and it's taking stock of your inner world, your interoception, your internal cues. That's all the input. And with that input, your brain then interprets and makes a decision based on that input. That decision then sends a signal back as output, and you get a movement, a behavior, an emotion. And when the system is overloaded or misinterpreting input, or is interpreting input through the lens of the past but isn't really current with your actual situation, those outputs can look like pain, anxiety, tension, emotional reactivity. And with NSI, we train the system to interpret inputs more accurately and respond with more ease. And that's a good idea because we all have a threat bucket. Imagine that your nervous system is like a bucket, and every stressor, whether that's sleep deprivation or conflict or exercise or poor nutrition or positive excitement, all of that adds a little bit more water. And when the bucket fills up too high, it overflows. And that overflow shows up as pain. Pain shows up as body pain, anxiety, inflammation, neuroticism. And the goal of NSI isn't to eliminate stress. It's actually to increase the size of your bucket and give you ways to drain it before it spills. We're looking to make you more flexible and resilient. Now, we all have threat responses. When our system senses a threat, whether that threat is objectively real or whether we perceive that threat through our own distortion or our distorted lenses, well, the body chooses a protection strategy. It might choose fight, like snapping, criticizing, pushing back, or internal fight, which is when your inner critic kind of goes wild. You might flee, you might literally run away, or you might check out or stay super, super busy. Fleeing can look like dissociation as well. You might freeze, you might shut down, or you might emotionally feel stuck, even if you're physically still moving. Or you may fawn. Fawning is when we people please to try to keep the peace, to keep things moving in a direction at least, to try to make sure that people around us aren't dysregulated. Sometimes we will fawn and dysregulate ourselves. None of these strategies, these responses, is wrong. They were actually brilliant adaptive strategies developed through so much evolution, right? But we often will experience these threat responses with bad timing. NSI is about giving you tools so that you can complete the stress cycle and return to a sense of safety faster and be able to respond to situations appropriately, right? Sometimes the appropriate move is to be in honest conflict. Sometimes the appropriate move is to leave or to allow yourself to mindfully check out or to negotiate and collaborate with others. But we want to be able to choose these responses and we want to be able to modulate how we're using these responses. So a regulated nervous system, a lot of people think that regulating always means calm down. So in fact, these days, I'll turn to almost anyone and say, ask a question about, are you feeling regulated? And people kind of have like a little reaction to it. Like, I don't want to calm down. Regulation isn't always about being calm, right? Regulation is about the flexible capacity to move in and out of stress because we're going to experience stress, and to be able to come back to our baseline with ease, come back to our window of capacity at choice. A healthy, regulated nervous system has a rhythm. It flexes and it moves and returns to center. And that flexibility is what lets us be resilient to change. We want to be able to experience change. Like dysregulation itself, well, a lot of things that I actually like are dysregulating. When I take a new chance, when I take a risk, dysregulating. I ride a roller coaster, dysregulating. When I have an orgasm, dysregulating. I still want to be able to do all of those things, right? And we're going to experience lows too. We're going to experience losses and grief. I want to be able to feel that. And I also want to be able to return to my window of capacity. So, what exactly is the window of capacity? Window of capacity is your zone for where you can identify your needs and wants. You can navigate change. You can communicate. You feel balanced and creative and resilient. You'll see on this slide, there are a lot of examples of what it feels like to be in that window of capacity. You can see from multiple perspectives. You can hold your own boundaries. But we move out of our window of capacity when we move into hyper-arousal. That's when we're showing up with compulsive behaviors, addictions, impulsivity. We feel overwhelmed or we're controlling. We feel buzzing and rigidity, or we may feel chaotic. We fall into hypo-arousal when we feel frozen in body or mind, when we feel overwhelmed and we feel that sort of shutdown, that depressive sensation in our body. When we find ourselves dissociating, that is, we're physically here, but we're not exactly here. When we're experiencing memory problems, or we're emotionally unavailable, we're feeling sort of sleepiness that's not connected to actual physical sleepiness. Flat affect can show up here, numbness. I want everyone to be able to move into their window of capacity at choice, right? So we want to be able to experience hyper-arousal and hypo-arousal periods and move back into our window of capacity, which also allows us to relate to others with more flexibility. It allows us to move back into curiosity, resilience, adaptiveness. It allows us to come back into a state of co-creation. So let's get in. How do we do NSI? I really mean it. When I say this is an efficient method, I mean it. The reason I chose this particular method to teach for nervous system regulation is because it's fast, right? We use a 3-step process to help you figure out what works for your body. Everybody's body is unique. So every single time we do a drill, a neurosomatic intelligence drill, this is a little movement that we're going to do. We're going to follow this same 3-step process. We're going to test, we're going to do the drill, and then we're going to assess. We test, we check our current baseline. We're going to do that using something like range of motion, balance, or vocal range. If I'm going to use range of motion, I might choose something like checking, how's my extension, my ability to rotate my neck, my head on my neck? And I'm going to take stock of that. Where do I get to? I'm going to hold my body still, and I'm going to take stock of that. Then I'm going to try a drill. I'm going to do a drill I particularly like. I like to do this one. I take my forefinger, I press it right here at the start of my eyebrow. I just roll it around in a circle, just a little bit. I take a few deep breaths and I allow myself to relax a little bit. And for those of you who are thinking, isn't this just distraction? Well, honestly, some of it is. But also, I am literally stimulating my nerves. Maybe it's a little bit of all of that. Take another deep breath. And now I'm going to assess. I'm going to check that same range of motion and see, did it get better? Did I have an increased range of motion? Did it stay the same, or did it get worse? Let me check. So I experienced an increased range of motion, which tells me that my nervous system liked that particular input. I might have experienced kind of nothing, and maybe I need to try a different drill, or maybe I even want to stack up drills and do more than one at a time. There are drills using your eyes, using your tongue, using like touching different parts of your body, placing your hands across here, butterfly taps on each shoulder. There are drills with standing, seated, and lying down positions. There are dozens and dozens of different drills to try out. We can also use quite a few different tests, right? We don't have to just use how far does my head turn on my neck. We can also use our vocal range. I could just do a simple vocal slide. Mm-hmm. And notice, does my voice feel smooth? Does it feel sticky? Do I have the range I expect to have? And then I do my drill and reassess. I could also use balance. I could stand on one foot. There are other drills as well. Those are the three I tend to use the most frequently. We can also look for clues. If while I'm doing a drill, I experience a spontaneous sigh or a yawn or I swallow spontaneously, in fact, it just happened to me there. That's it. That's my nervous system saying, oh, we got a cue that says we can go into a parasympathetic state. We can rest and digest. That's what I'm looking for. If this feels a little bit like a magic trick, yeah, it kind of does, because what you're doing is learning how to outfit yourself with a bunch of tools so that you can do this easily and in little moments where you need it. Again, we want to complete the stress cycle efficiently, right? So I have drills that I can do even while I'm teaching on Zoom, drills that I can do when I'm in a meeting. Heck, I was at a bank meeting not that long ago, and I did a couple of drills. I found myself just doing a couple drills that I know are high payoff for me. They might not be high payoff for you, but what I've done is train my nervous system over time, so I know I can count on these particular drills. They work really well. One of them is just touching my earlobe. If I touch my earlobe, about 30 seconds, works really well for me. I know that my partner, Ken, who will be showing some follow-up videos after this one, he really likes to use the drills involving tongue, like tracing the roof of your mouth with a circle, or that one's pretty funny. Generally, these drills are going to take between 20 and 90 seconds. This is fast. It's efficient. And again, what's our goal? Our goal is to come back into choice, because a regulated nervous system does not look always calm. It looks like being able to experience the ups and downs of life and choose to come back to my window of capacity. So I hope you will take a deep dive into more tools. There's going to be a link for some tools that you can use, some drills that you can learn. I encourage you to think about these drills. We're looking to collect for you a nice set of drills that tend to work well for you. And then I want you to sprinkle them throughout your day. These can be used for urgent situations. Let's say you're feeling really heightened stress in a moment. Great. Let's do a few drills and see what happens. Can I find myself back in my window of capacity? But we can also train our nervous system. If I do some drills sprinkled throughout my day, I'm allowing my nervous system to experience me interacting with it. And I can also learn what works for me, what doesn't work for me. If I do a drill like, that was me humming while I have my tongue pressed into my cheek pocket. If I do that drill and find, actually, when I did test, drill, and assess, I got a negative response. My neck felt tighter. My vocal range felt tighter. Okay, no problem. That drill just isn't for me, or it isn't for me right now, and that's fine. My goal is for everyone to take an hour and go through and learn these drills. You can learn them here in the videos here. Probably won't even take you an hour. You can learn a bunch of drills that work for you. You can also click the link and do 2 weeks free at Elizabeth Kristof's site, Brain-Based Wellness. I thoroughly encourage you to take the opportunity to do those 2 free weeks at Brain-Based Wellness and learn even more about how your nervous system works. When you know how to actually interact with your own nervous system, you're at choice. What more could we possibly want for ourselves? And these drills are easy to use anywhere. They're also easy to teach other people. Teach your children, teach your friends. It's a great opportunity to start talking about how do we actively intervene when the nervous system is dysregulated, rather than just saying, well, I need to regulate, so I have to go meditate for an hour. I need to go for a run right now. Those things are wonderful. I love a good cold plunge, but I can't always access them. Neurosomatic intelligence tools are accessible anywhere. So let's get you stocked up. Let's fill up your toolbox with a whole bunch of them. Thanks for listening, everybody.